Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes and Spotify to continue hustling. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority Podcast Training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 386 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I am your co-host Luke Millette, and here's your host James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Evan Giles. And if you want to hear the story is you're only as healthy as your spine, stay tuned. Welcome back. This is another episode of the Chiro Hustle podcast, episode 386. Wow. Really excited to have Dr. Evan on with me today. He's coming in from the Dallas, Fort Worth area, and I'm coming in from beautiful Grand Junction, Colorado. And before we jump into this episode, I just want to let people know the big why. Why does Chiro Hustle do what we do? Well, we protect free speech. I think that that's something that's really important. I don't just think it, I live it. So I think that living freedom of speech is important for all of us. Protecting the sacred trust. That's something else that we do here at Chiro Hustle. If you're watching this and you don't know what the sacred trust is, please go find your favorite search engine and look for Sacred Trust of Chiropractic, BJ Palmer. And then we do support subluxation-based chiropractic. That's one of those big words that most people that watch our show know it. But if you don't and you're new to this, go search for that as well. And we also believe that once the person gets adjusted, it connects man or woman, the physical, to man or woman, the spiritual, and that's innate intelligence and universal intelligence, and that resides in all of us. So with that being said, I'm just really blessed to be able to share our big why with you. And then I want to welcome on Dr. Evan today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here, Jim.
Yeah, man. We were just off camera, and I was like, man, you're like a chiropractic baby now. Like you've been in practice 1 year.
That's true. Yeah. Not even quite a full year. I started in September, but I mean, the growth since then has been exponential. It's been eye-opening and exciting.
That's so cool, man. And you know, we had a chance to meet each other back in February.
Yep.
And we were down in with Breakthrough Coaching with Mark Santa.
Yep.
And what a great seminar, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. I learned a lot from that.
Yeah. And you know, you not being in the chiropractic practice for such a very long time. I guess I'd like just open up with this and get your story, because so many times people they get to know you as the practitioner. You know, your friends and family might know you as, hey, he went to school for 5 years to get to this position in his life. But why did he do it? And, you know, just to let you know that also your friends, your family, your colleagues, your classmates, your patients, they're all going to listen to this. So let's just tell them your big why. Why did you decide to become a chiropractor?
Why did I decide to become a chiropractor? So I'll start. I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and I just quit an office job to go work for myself as a personal trainer. I was fired up. I was loving it. I was involved in the community, was doing a great job, working with patients, having a great time, clients, I guess then. But I was starting to realize that as a personal trainer, it's hard to kind of level up. You got to really, really hustle to be able to get to that level of financial freedom. And I knew I wanted to stay in health and wellness. I knew that I wanted to help people. And it just so happened that around the time that, you know, I was starting to get a little worn out with the personal training, that my fiancé was going to be going back to school in Atlanta, and that's where I'm from. And I grew up seeing the old commercials with Sid Williams advertising Life University, and had already had that seed planted in my mind about, you know, what the opportunities are there with chiropractic. First and foremost, I could help people. And then secondly, it's a way to level up with my knowledge, my skill set, and with that financial freedom. You know, just as a chiropractor looking at it number wise, you can see, dozens of people in an hour, whereas a personal trainer, you're seeing one person in an hour, or maybe one person every 30 minutes. So it seemed like a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, I love the perspective of one to many with your time rather than one to one. And, things have developed so much in the personal training space over the past 2 years as well.
Yeah.
Like, before, the past 2 years, everything was kind of like in person,
Yep.
one-on-one. And now people are actually doing full courses online. It's crazy. But I think it's really cool that you found some love in the chiropractic profession.
Same. I think it's pretty cool. I found that love too.
So what would you say makes you unique in the chiropractic space?
I think I do a great job with patient education. I don't know if that makes me necessarily unique. I know that one of the things that we do better as chiropractors than traditionally with MD doctors is we spend a little bit more time maybe explaining what's the root cause, how come you feel this way, investigating, trying to understand the patient a little bit better. So, I don't know if that sets me apart in the chiropractic profession, but it definitely sets me apart from other medical professionals.
Yeah, and you being so like fresh into the scene, what have been some of the things that you've done that have worked for you for marketing? And what are some of the things that have not worked for you?
The things that have not worked for me are the cold calling, networking. We do a lot of personal injury patients in our office, and in order to have that as part of your practice, you got to be able to have these relationships built with attorneys. And to make those relationships, you got to start by calling them up and introducing yourself and trying to schedule meetings or luncheons, and that's a hard part for me. The cold calling, I'll admit, is definitely not something that has worked that well for me. The thing that does work really well for me is endearing myself to the patients that I have, so that they know, like, and trust me. And a lot of them want to bring in their spouses. They, talking to them about some pains that they might have. They think, I got a friend that's got that going. I really need to send my friend over here. And it's as simple as saying, like, here's my card. All they got to do is just call us and get on the schedule, and then the process will start from there.
Yeah, one of my favorite all-time quotes in chiropractic is from it's either Reggie Gold or Jim Sigafus, but it's, why would you come here to get healthy and leave the rest of your family home to be sick?
That's awesome. Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like to me, is why would you come here to get healthy and not tell your friends and your whole community about chiropractic?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that referrals are a great way to build a practice, especially early on, because I'm sure you're so on fire. You just want to, jump on top of the rooftop and yell, come see me, come see me, come see me.
Yeah, get in here. I mean, there's no reason for people to have low back pain and neck pain and these aches and that they have, when we're here for them and we can help them figure it out.
Mm-hmm. So coming from a background of physical fitness and personal training, what are some of the things that you like to do on top of getting adjusted for your personal health and for your family's health?
Yeah, I would say it's threefold. Two, physically for me. I've been lifting weights and doing the bodybuilding thing. Not that I've been competitive. It's just the style that I train since I was a kid. It's my meditation. It's my personal time to make sure I get in the gym, headphones on, ignore the rest of the world, and focus on exercise. It's something that fuels me every single day. I don't think that any true fitness program is complete without some form of yoga in it. And so yoga is super important to me, at least once a week, 30 minutes to an hour, making sure that I'm focusing on the areas that need the stretching and the activation. And then finally, mental health. Mental health is super important to me. Once a week, I have an hour-long session with a therapist via BetterHelp. That it's great. I get to vent, or I get to bring up, issues of communication, maybe with friends or partners or patients, to help me navigate that field. And most importantly, she spends a lot of time asking me the questions that other people aren't. It's making me go deep to think about my own personal issues and my own lack of communication style sometimes.
Yeah, one of the things I picked up is that the issues are in the tissues, and sometimes it's our mental synapse.
Hmm.
And a lot of times people don't have the ability to admit that. So I think that's really important that you know that you have to stay both mentally and physically strong.
Yeah.
And I just I admire that honesty because so many times people are like, oh, I eat right and yep, I work out and I get adjusted.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people talk about the above atlas subluxation.
It's yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, I honestly, I encourage everybody two things to seek it out if they haven't, because you don't have to have issues going on to have somebody there to help you with, you know, small parts of your life. And then if you are speaking to somebody that's a therapist, don't be afraid to share it, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I really believe, as men, as alphas, we can we can look a certain way, but we also have to think a certain way. And it's important to be able to have that release so it doesn't just build up and it becomes, some type of manifestation of something else in our body.
Right.
Because a lot of times people don't realize that the mental trauma leads to a lot of the physical ailment.
Hmm.
And, so many people they block, their emotional presence and they just focus on their physical presence. And before they know it, they drift and sedate and they need therapy.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's really cool that you're so in tune with yourself. Let me ask you, yoga. Is there a particular type of yoga, or do you go to a yoga class, or do you do an app on your phone?
So I have started using one and an app, and I want to give a shout out to this guy. It's Manflow Yoga. If he's out there ever listening, we need to partner up. But the yoga focus that he has, so much of what I've seen in yoga over the years is it's stretch. Let's stretch, forward fold, go deeper. Push this. He's coming at it from the aspect of activation. Let's not forward fold and stretch our hamstrings. Let's do deep squats and activate our quadriceps. You know what I mean? So I have benefited from his yoga physically, and I have benefited from it with patients. It's taught me a lot about cueing patients with certain activation and stretches. It's taught me a lot about identifying areas in my own body. But once a week, I do it. Every time that I start to feel the tightness in my low back, or I start to feel my CT junction getting a little bit worn out, I know that it's time to go and do 30 minutes to an hour of yoga on Manflow Yoga. It's great.
That's super cool. I did not know that. I'm going to definitely look into Manflow yoga. And it's kind of like the guy that goes to the gym all the time and he skips legs.
Yep.
Like, I think you have to be multidimensional. And
Yes.
people, that go in and they just do the beach workout for like arms and chest and back, and
Hmm.
they neglect the legs. They don't realize that their gains would be so much more if they just did more legs.
Yes, yes. And I mean, it's about keeping the back healthy and the joints healthy too. And as a trainer, I used to say, and I still say it now, like nobody really cares how much you can squat when you're 65 and you can't get up and off the toilet.
Mm. You've made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is sponsored by Imaging Services, Chiro Health USA, Chiro Moguls, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, doTERRA, Sherman College of Chiropractic, New Patients in a Box, the Influencer Authority podcast training, Mango Voice, Community Healthcare Resources, and Invisired. Let's hustle. Yeah, I worked in a clinic for 6 years. So one of my favorite lines I'd tell to patients, I was like, "Are you familiar with Pilates?"
Yep.
And everybody's heard of Pilates. And then I'd say, "Do you know who Joseph Pilati is?" And they'd be like, "No." I'm like, "Well, he's the guy that founded Pilates." And I would tell them that there's a great Pilates quote is, "You're only as healthy as your spine."
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "You're in a chiropractic office, but that is coming from another holistic practitioner telling you the chiropractic philosophy."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was really in tune to the same thing that chiropractic is seeing. That the power of the core, the power of activating the muscles and not just stretching them, making sure we're balanced.
And people think of core as, their abs.
Mm-hmm.
But really what the core is your spine.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have a rotten core, you have poor posture, you have poor health, you have poor nervous system, you have a poorly functioning immune system, and all these things are related to spinal mobility and spinal health, which is the real core of the body.
Mm-hmm.
But so many times people think a core, there's like, oh, it's planks, it's abs,
Mm-hmm.
but the core to the core is the spine.
Yep.
So you said that you've been doing some outreach for PI. Are there any other things that you've been doing that you found that you enjoy for community outreach?
Yeah, one of the things that's been great. My fiance's in grad school in University of North Texas here, and she's got a cohort, and they're all very, very aware that her fiance is a chiropractor, and so lots and lots of questions about, oh, my neck hurts, I have headaches, what do I do about this? And it's more than just reaching out to patients or people and potential patients in my community. I take it as an opportunity to educate them about the positions they're sitting in when they're studying all day, the way that they're standing, the footwear, that type of stuff, and giving them exercises that they can do, teaching them how to use foam rollers, that type of thing. Just imparting on them a lot of the knowledge that chiropractors know, because the adjustment is powerful, and we all need it. But in those times in between, we still need to be doing the maintenance care. We still need to take 10 minutes away from our desk to go and stretch, to go and take a break and let our necks relax, let our low backs relax.
Yeah, I think, when people realize what you do, they're going to seek you out. Mm-hmm. So I think that this will be a huge spot of leverage doing this interview with us. You can email it to your practice members to share with their friends and to share with their family. So maybe this will be a great marketing opportunity for you guys too, to do some outreach with this. But let's talk a little bit more about what are you eating? Like, I know that's a big topic, because what we were saying off camera was, I was like, it's a battle of inches.
Yeah.
Like, it's a battle of 3 inches on a person's belly. It's a battle of 6 inches between their temples.
Mm-hmm.
It's a battle of inches. It's a battle of millimeters when it comes to, adjusting the spine. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about, like, what are you doing for your health of your diet?
So my diet, you put me on the spot, because I'm sure my buddies are going to listen to this. People that know me really well are going to listen to this. And I'm not going to say anything that would definitely make them say, nah, Evan's making that up. I still preach this as a chiropractor, and I preached it as a trainer, and I believe it, that you can't be 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. 70, 75% of the time, be on point as best you can with your diet and your nutrition. And then on that other 25%, don't feel guilty. Don't beat yourself up, and go completely off the rails and enjoy it. So for me, what that looks like is during the week, I keep meals small. All of my rehab techs that work with me tease me that Dr. Giles, he never eats. He doesn't eat anything, because they don't see me. I'm eating snacks throughout the day. I'm keeping it low, fueling just enough to keep my blood sugar up. I find that keto doesn't work for me. Intermittent fasting doesn't work for me. What works for me is the small amounts throughout the day, keeping my blood sugar up. But I'll tell you, on the weekends, you will find me 99% of the time in the evenings on the weekends with a pint of Ben and Jerry's or a pint of Jenny's ice cream or two, sitting in front of the TV and enjoying myself, and not feeling any guilt or shame about it either.
Yeah, I think, just being completely honest with people is important too.
100%.
And when I would tell people about their health, which I'm not a health coach, I'm not a doctor, but I would say live by the 80-20 rule.
Yeah.
80% of the time, do what you should be doing, and 20% of the time, enjoy. Mm-hmm. And don't make yourself captive to your own mind, because then you're not going to enjoy eating.
Very true. Very
true. And then if you stay super strict for too long of a time, you go like 30, 60, 90 days where you just follow like a certain eating program, and you neglect yourself of things that you used to like, you're going to go back to that behavior tenfold.
Correct. 100%. Yes. I saw it with patients and clients. So it's so true.
Yeah. Know yourself. Yeah.
Yes, right? Definitely. But like talking about the nutrition part of it, I like to incorporate the chiropractic mentality with that when I would do nutrition consults, or even when people ask me about it now, my first response is, well, you don't need a doctor or a personal trainer to tell you that you need to eat more fruits and vegetables, you need to get better sleep, you should drink some more water, and you need to do exercise. I work from my standpoint of what's the root cause of why you can't make that happen in your life, right? Mm-hmm. Like, what are the systems that you have in your life that are preventing these actions, or what is interrupting these actions? And let's focus on that, because a lot of times it's, how do I meal prep? What kind of grocery shopping do I do? It's stuff like that. It's not what do I need and when do I need to eat?
Well, it's back to basics, you know. It's like somebody pushing your swing for you when you're a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, you can start swinging if somebody just pushes you. And you know, one of my favorite all-time quotes is by Bob Dylan. And he said that you don't need a weatherman to tell you which way the wind blows. Yeah. And I think it's so true about ourselves, is we know that we don't need somebody to tell us what to eat. Mm-hmm. But we definitely can use a little bit of hand holding every once in a while, and some support. Mm-hmm. And it's important to get a few attaboys every once in a while. Like, hey, you're doing a good job. Thank you. You know, and having somebody support you, because the one thing I think most people really fail at within the chiropractic lifestyle is eating right.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And, you know, that's a huge component to health. And you are what you eat. You know, that was a really like popular thing to say, I think, back in like the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. You are what you eat. But then they came up with the next level. You are what you eat eats.
Yeah, you're right, 100%.
So they wonder why people come up with all these like systemic like sicknesses from what they're eating, and why they get like bad blood, or like sick in the blood, is because what they're eating wasn't eating healthy food. And they're feeding themselves sick. So I think, you know, what we're talking about is so on point with where people are today. Is it's physical, chemical, and emotional stresses. And a lot of the reason people aren't absolutely healthy is because of the chemical component. Yeah. And they just don't realize that's coming from the food that they're eating and the water that they're drinking.
Correct. Yeah, 100%.
So let's go back in to chiropractic.
All right.
The profession. I support this profession. Been doing it for 13 years. But no one really ever asks me where I see it going, but I share that a lot. But where do you see it going in the next, say, 5 years?
You know, it's the way I interpret that question is, where do I see the mm-hmm. chiropractic profession in over the next 20 years? And I really want to take this chance to say that I think that one of the things that chiropractic needs to be more involved in, we need to have some strategies for, some campaigns for, is we got to enhance the research that's in chiropractic. The research is just not as strong because it's still pretty new, and we got to have some credible, valid research that we can be able to say and take to the medical community, take to the population as a whole, to know that what we do is actually happening. What we say we do is actually happening, because there's research out there now, but when we dig deep into a lot of it, not all of it, but when we dig deep into a lot of it, it's not always the most creditable. And we want to shore that up and make sure that it is creditable, so that we can start getting the respect we deserve.
Well, I like to bring it all back to posture and spinal hygiene. And I like to ask people, like, how frequently are they brushing their teeth? And they say, oh, twice a day. I'm like, well, how often are you checking your spine? Are you doing anything to like keep it healthy? And then one of my favorite things to do is I tell people to put their head out as far as they can and take a deep breath. And then I tell them to put the head back over their shoulders and take the same deep breath, and tell them which one was easier. And 99% of the time, somebody will say, oh, and my head's back here. And then I'll say, well, if you ever had an x-ray of your spine, you would know that our body has these biomechanical curves inside of us that are supposed to be there. There's an ideal curve to each component of our spine, for the cervical, the thoracic, and the lumbar. And if you don't know what that is, then you're just guessing. And you don't even know what real health is unless you know what spinal health is. So I think that if we can drive that home, spinal hygiene long term within the context of understanding and education, people understand that. They
Yeah.
understand that if they don't brush their teeth are going to rot and they're going to fall out.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that if they don't get an X-ray of their spine and take proper care of their spine, that their spine's going to fall apart.
Yeah, they really don't. It's one of the harder things that I see when I'm looking at people middle age, and they're just starting to have that degeneration. And it's that idea of like, man, like so much of this could have been prevented. So much of what you're going through could have been prevented earlier on in your life with just some basic knowledge about your spinal health and how to maintain it.
Well, the dental industry like nailed it. They all came together and could follow one narrative.
Mm,
And if we could do that for chiropractic in the next 20 years, chiropractic will nail it.
that's a good point. Yeah.
We have to come together with a unified front to say, hey, a healthy spine is going to benefit all aspects of your life long term. And by the way, it affects your nervous system because it houses your spinal cord and all of the organs, tissues, and cells that are controlled by that. And your immunity is also attached to that as well. So if you really wanted to be healthy, your teeth are important, obviously, but I think they did such a good job of educating the whole world as to why dental hygiene is so important, that if we just took a page out of the dental book and said, okay, we're going to apply the same practical knowledge to chiropractic, that every chiropractor could speak the same language then. So I met you down at Mark Santa's event recently, back in February, Breakthrough Coaching. Who have been some of your mentors or heroes in this profession up to this point?
There was one professor so I'm from Life University, or I went to Life University, and there was one professor in particular there that her class spoke to me and really changed my belief, my view, my perspective, my philosophy on chiropractic. And that's Dr. Ashley Linkhorn. She's based out of Marietta, Georgia, the Sports Chiropractic Institute. And at our school, she was known for having a really tough class, like had a lot of high expectations about her students in functional restoration. And that's where she spends a lot of time explaining and teaching to the students the upper cross syndrome, the lower cross syndrome, and how to evaluate for it, how to assess and treat it. And that class just made a world of difference for me. It helped me to finally come around and see the connection between these movements that people do and their posture and how gait affects things, to be able to start addressing it from a whole biomechanical standpoint when I work with patients.
Super, super powerful. I'd like to have her on our show eventually, so maybe you can put an introduction into me.
Would love that. Would love to introduce you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to be down in Georgia for, I think, their Life Force event.
Cool.
In early October.
Cool.
So maybe I can meet her down there at Life Force.
Cool.
I'm actually working with Life and Life West colleges to bring them on as sponsors of chirohustle.
Nice.
So building connections with bigger brands in the profession as a whole, because I believe that we're more alike than we are different. And the stronger that we have representation on a unified front, the better. And if we're all talking subluxation, innate intelligence, universal intelligence, and biomechanics, and spinal hygiene, we're doing the right things. And education. I think education is so important. We have we have to retain, high quality education within this profession and not sell out all the colleges like I've seen happening since I've been in this profession. We have to retain the sacred trust within some of these schools. So kudos to everybody at Life West and Sherman. So love you guys. Love the leadership there too.
Yeah.
So as we wrap this up, I know you've been in practice just under a year. Have you seen any cases that you would explain as a miracle story?
So I knew this question was coming, and I'm looking forward to the day that I have one of those types of miracle stories where I adjust the baby and they fall right to sleep, or somebody starts walking within a few. I haven't had one of those yet. What I have had is a patient recently. When I was first starting a few months ago, feeling like a new doc, like I don't know what I'm doing, afraid that everybody's going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. I was talking to my clinic director, Dr. Gersamrun Gill. He's a great guy, and he was picking up on it. Like, remember, Dr. Giles, that our patients are going to get 90% better by just doing like the basic stuff that we do. So in our practice, we adjust, and then we do the physical therapy route as well. And I have a patient that she's older. She's got a lot of like kidney health, a lot of failing ailments, has lost her husband not too recently. And she was coming in after a motor vehicle accident and walking on a cane, really down, malnourished, not strong. And we were trying the adjustment, and the adjustment was causing her more and more pain. We were trying laser therapy, E-stim, massage, and everything was causing more and more pain. And I thought, well, let's just go back to the very, very basics. She needs movement. So she started coming to see us 2 times a week. And all she would do was about 30 minutes of just light calisthenics. And within 2 weeks, she was night and day different. And it was probably one of the most important patients and cases I've had, because I just will always remember that no matter what, if they're just moving, if we can just get people out and moving, they're going to start to get better. Is it going to fix them? Maybe not, but it's at least going to get them to a point where we can start with the other modalities, the adjusting, the massage, the physical therapy.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that too, because a lot of times people think that just the adjustment's going to fix people, and a lot of times it does. And that's what chiropractic is. Without the adjustment, chiropractic is just philosophy and science. And I think that the adjustment's the primary when it comes to bridging the gap for people's long-term future healthcare. But when you're talking about just getting people to move, that goes back to James Chestnut's work. Eat well, think well, move well. But the part that he left out of his work was get adjusted. And I think that that's to be assumed. But when we talk about like the lifestyle improvements to people's activities of daily living, just getting people to have more movement is what keeps their body working. It's like taking a plant that was like starting to wither up and die, and you start watering it again, it comes back to life. It has innate intelligence in it. And that's just it. It's chiropractic philosophy. There's limitations that matter. And if somebody comes into you and they're like, hey, I feel like this and this is happening, but they haven't taken care of their spine for 50 years, you're working with something that has a limitation to matter.
Yep.
And the body doesn't have the ability to have full capacity and range of motion and stability. You have to work small, and you have to start building confidence in the tissue. And that's a part where rehab is so important for people, because they come into the chiropractic world and they're like, hey, give me that one miracle adjustment that's going to like solve everything for me. And it's like, no, you haven't taken care of this problem for the past 50 years. And now you want to come in and put all the confidence into me and all the responsibility on me when you've neglected yourself for so long. So I think it's really cool that you see the miracle in movement. You see the miracle in the hope for somebody. You see the miracle in the small thing for that one person, but that means a lot for your future, because you'll never forget the story.
Very true. That's well said.
Well, at this point, 386 is coming to a close of Chiro Hustle podcast. But Dr. Evan, can you give us any web resources that I can send people to if they want to learn more about you or maybe work with you?
You can hit me up on the 2 main social media platforms, Facebook and Instagram. Evan Giles, it's Giles, and it's Giles, not Giles. I'll say it one more time, Giles. And you'll know it's me because it's a lovely picture of me and my fiance, and it says DC right behind it. So Evan Giles, DC. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. You can hit me up there.
Cool. Well, I really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and to be on the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
All right. Well, I will see you soon, and have a great rest of your day down there in Dallas.
Thanks. You too.
All right. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.